Hey guys, it's Caitlin and welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be reacting to 1-star reviews of my favorite books. This is going to be a very interesting video. Whether or not you would consider yourself a reader, I think this is going to be pretty funny because obviously people have different opinions on books. Just a little disclaimer, this video is all just for fun. No hate to anyone who wrote these reviews on Goodreads. There's so many books that I really dislike that are super popular. Books are popular for a reason, and this is what's so fun about reading because we all have different opinions. I have picked out a couple of my favorite books that I've ever read and gone to the 1-star reviews on Goodreads. Some of them were pretty hard to find ones for because in comparison to all the 5-star reviews, there's not as many 1-star reviews, which makes me so happy. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment. Without further ado, let's get into some of these negative reviews. So I thought I would start off with a bit of an interesting one, which is November 9th. Since you might not all be familiar with the books I'm talking about, I'll give you a brief little summary of what they're about so you have a little background information going into the reviews. November 9th is by Colleen Hoover, who is a very controversial author on the internet. A lot of people either love her or hate her. I definitely enjoy her books, but I don't agree with some of the things she's done. I'm not going to get into that. You can research, but I think her books are super fast, just easy, quick reads, and they're entertaining. November 9th basically follows a girl named Fallon who is planning on moving to New York City to pursue her dreams of becoming an actress on Broadway. But her father does not support a passion of hers, mainly because of half of her body is completely scarred. It's harder for her to book roles in the industry, and she's in a diner with him and they're sort of arguing about her future, and a guy named Ben comes in and pretends to be her boyfriend for a second to get the father to leave her alone. And basically over that day, November 9th, they form a bit of a connection, but she's moving to New York literally the next day, so they're not going to pursue a relationship. So they decide that every year on November 9th they're going to meet up, and if after 5 years or something it works out, then they'll be in a relationship. That's a little bit about what that's about. Let's get into the reviews now. Again, this book has very polarizing reviews. People either love it or hate it. So let's hear from some of the people who hate it as someone who loves it. This review says, "I just can't do it. I got 30 pages from the end and I refused to finish. I hated it so much. I thought Owen from Confess was the worst male love interest, but Ben has beat him." Confess is another book by Colleen. I haven't read it yet, so I can't really comment on that. "He was awful, and the big plot twist infuriated me to no end. It was ridiculous and such a cheap shot." Yeah, the plot twist I feel has a lot of people either that makes or breaks the book for them. Yeah, definitely mixed feelings for me personally on that, but I still give the book 5 stars. And then it says, "At this point I'm questioning whether or not I will continue reading Colleen Hoover books. How can someone who wrote my favorite book ever write my 2 most hated books?" I'm actually interested to see what this person's favorite book was. I'm guessing maybe Verity or It Ends With Us, because those are pretty popular. I don't know. But yeah, that's that review. Next one says, "I wish I could give this book 0 stars. Some questionable things were said in here, and I really do not like Ben nor how he used her." That is a completely valid reason to dislike this book. I have very, very mixed feelings on the love interest Ben. He does some questionable things. I think that's the perfect word to describe it. But I don't know, this book was just so entertaining. When I read it, I just loved it so much. But that's a completely valid reason. Next. This is the last one for this book, and I think it perfectly sums up how everyone felt reading this book, regardless of if they loved it or hated it. "This book made me want to bang my head against the wall." Me too. So this next one's a little bit different. It's actually a book called Ignite Me, which is the 3rd in a very long series called the Shatter Me series. I have it right here on my shelf. I absolutely love that series. Ignite Me for me is personally my favorite book in the series, and also a lot of other people's favorite in the series. It's the 3rd one, like I said. So I thought it would be interesting because people who gave this one a 1-star review, they obviously liked the series enough to get to the 3rd book, so that's an interesting way to look at it. Basically, I mean, it's a 3rd book in a series, so I can't say too much without giving everything away. But basically, in the 1st book, we follow a girl named Juliet who has been locked up in an asylum because she has this power where whenever she touches someone, they will get very hurt. One day she touches a little boy in a supermarket and he actually ends up dying from her touch. So the government locks her away in an asylum so she can't interact with anyone, but then they plan on using her as a weapon in the upcoming war. So the 3rd book, there's so much more than just that. That's just all I'm gonna say. Anyways, definitely recommend you read it. This review is a pretty long one, but it says, "So many feels for the characters, not me." I don't really know what that means, but Juliet finally stopped crying and whining, and suddenly I've always known deep down who should be leading this resistance. Okay, it really bugs me when people are annoyed that Juliet cries a lot because, okay, think of it this way. You try being locked up in an asylum for like almost a year, no interaction with other humans, and then being used and abused by the literal government and taken away from your parents and all of that, finding out you aren't who you thought you were, and we'll see who's the one crying now. Sorry, that was really brutal. But anyways, underneath that picture, it says, Adam is the creepiest, nastiest, lovesick weirdo who gets crazy angry and puts his little brother's life in danger. I mean, Adam is sort of there for us to hate him. That's sort of his character arc. So I feel like if you hate him, that's a good thing because the author intended for you to. So I don't know why that's in here. Okay, and then this part made me laugh. Warner is lovely, actually, but I can't forget the mental torture he put Juliet through in the past 2 books. I'm guessing you didn't read the novellas, because if you did, you would understand why he acted the way he did. I guess I'm not as forgiving as Juliet, who's now madly in love because he didn't mean it. Why can't she just be with Kenji and be done with it? Because he's pretty much the only guy in the series of dateable age who isn't a psycho abuser. Just weird. First of all, Kenji's her best friend. They're literally like siblings to each other, so let's not ship them. And 2, you literally just said Warner is lovely. Anyways, yeah, that review kind of confused me a little bit. Next review.
Ugh, not again. Complaining about Juliet.
You're telling me that this 17-year-old girl who spent 3 whole books talking entirely about 2 hot boys, page after endless page, might be a good leader? Yeah, no, I'm done with the series. No way I'm touching Restore Me. You're missing out because Restore Me is one of the best in the series. And last review says, Kenji carried this series. Everyone else sucks. 0.5 stars. I do love Kenji, but I wouldn't say everyone else sucks. So, that is that one. Another pretty controversial book. I am just going all at it with the controversial books. But The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, one of my favorites that I read in this year. It was so good and meaningful to me. But it is pretty slow paced and not a lot happens in the first half, so I understand why people don't like it. That's kind of the main complaint I've been hearing when I was looking for reviews, which I totally get. It's not a book for everyone. So this book is about a girl named Addie who makes a deal with the devil to live forever, but the consequence is that nobody will remember her. Like, as soon as she leaves the room, they forget her. Till one day, a guy remembers her. So, yeah. But let's hear what these good readers have to say about it. 9 months of unnecessary pain reading through this. 9 months. I applaud myself for finally finishing this. I applaud you too, because 9 months is a long time. I really wish you had enjoyed it because you committed so much time to it, but good job for powering through. So, this book was trash. Worst thing I've ever read. There was 0 plot, 0 character development, plus the characters were also boring and 2-dimensional. I mean, all any of them did was complain and complain and complain. Kind of like you're doing right now. Like, just shut up and do something if you're unhappy. And Addie blaming Luke for the whole time as if she didn't know he'd trick her. Also, don't get me started on the ending because predictable. I would disagree with the Luke part because he definitely manipulated her. Listen to the song Would've, Could've, Should've because it perfectly describes their relationship. And I didn't find the ending predictable. I'm sorry that you did. This is the last one for Addie LaRue. I didn't necessarily hate this. There's just nothing to like. Lovely premise, but the story itself was bland and shallow. Addie was so unremarkable. I doubt the people she met even wanted to remember her in the first place. That is so mean. Oh my god. Next book is If This Gets Out, another one of my favorites from this year. I think it was actually probably my top favorite. It's a young adult contemporary, and it's a romance between 2 members of a boy band, like the biggest boy band in the country, but they have to keep their relationship a secret because if it gets out, then there will be consequences. There's a lot they have to deal with, their management, their fans, everything, and they're like on tour while all this is happening. So, here's the reviews. This one made me laugh. After was better than this. How dare you disrespect If This Gets Out like that? After?
Molly, don't.
That is harsh. Okay. Couldn't finish because I've literally read One Direction fanfics better than this. yeah, a lot of people like say this is a Larry fanfic, which like it's not, but like I can see the similarities. This review just says,
oh my god, corny, lame, boo, tomato, 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 I'm throwing tomatoes.
That's funny. Yeah, now moving on to The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, my all-time favorite book I've ever read. Once again, it's very popular on TikTok, so there are going to be people who absolutely fall in love with it, and also people who absolutely despise it. So The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is essentially like a story of a woman from like the 50s, 60s, that time, that era, her life growing up as a huge public figure and actress, as she has 7 husbands in her lifetime, and we find out who her true love is, and there's just so much more that I can't even get into because it's just such a beautiful book. Okay, this review is so funny. The person didn't even read it. Okay. This book may be good, but it made my friend cry so much. I also gave her croissants, but it didn't help at all. She was crying all the time, talking about the horrible husbands and the cute couple. If someone has recommendations how I can help her cope with this book, I would like to hear them. She said that the writing was brilliant, so stop looking at 1-star reviews and go read this book. P.S. Don't expect me to give you croissants or something because we don't know each other. You have to deal with the pain after reading this book yourself, dear. What is this? Okay. Anyways, moving on from that. Oh my god, this review... Okay, let's just dive into it. Okay, I had to crop some of it out, but I'm wondering why this book received any ratings above 1 star. It's absolutely awful. The writing style is that of a high school student with unnecessary cussing, 3 in the first chapter, and 2D characters. The author made a point to say that none of the main characters are white. Who really cares? Did she have to point that out at all? And that people actually admired this woman for having 7 husbands. I should have known from the dedication line that this book was going to be awful. Patriarchy? Really? LOL. Last I checked, women and men have equal rights in everything. Scrolling on to the next review. Wow, that was awful. The content is of a supermarket tabloid variety, and the writer lacks all subtlety and grace. She might as well have been beaten you over the head with a mallet as introduce her themes. This book is stuff that gives Chicklet a bad name. It's not a chicklet, but okay. That is where this video is gonna end. That's the last review I screenshotted. I thought this was super fun, so maybe I can do a part 2 if you guys enjoyed. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!